Picture this. A sudden, jarring burst of radio static completely shatters the silence. Under fire! 6 is down! 4 moved to house 12 o'clock. I mean, you can literally hear the adrenaline, right? The absolute frantic chaos just echoing through that transmission. It's the exact sound of a patrol that has just walked straight into a simulated, but terrifyingly realistic military ambush. In a fraction of a second, a completely routine movement shatters into this desperate fight for survival.
Welcome to this explainer. Today we're diving into a really fascinating breakdown of military communication and logistics, drawing directly from simulated combat transcripts that perfectly mirror the harsh realities of modern warfare. We're going to trace an incredibly high-stakes narrative here, how a single, chaotic tactical survival event, basically a patrol caught in a deadly trap, actually triggered a massive, overwhelming strategic escalation. We'll walk through the exact communications, the rapid-fire response, and the heavy logistical lifting that turns a near disaster into a massive footprint on the battlefield.
Okay, let's dive into this. Part 1. The ambush. A fight for survival. We really need to start at the micro level, right down in the dirt with the soldiers actually caught in the crossfire. The first phase of this whole event is just pure, unadulterated survival. Listen to this grim reality. Enemy 100 meters, 3 down, 1 dead. Now, if you know anything about firefights, you know 100 meters is absolutely nothing. It's practically point-blank range for modern rifles. Because the enemy is that close, there is absolutely zero room for error here. And those immediate casualties? That means the unit's combat effectiveness is instantly compromised. They're pinned, they're bleeding, and the threat is literally right on top of them.
When we break down the tactical situation, you can really see the cascading disadvantages this patrol was facing. First off, this was just a 2-vehicle patrol, heavily outnumbered, and ambushed by a prepared insurgent force. And because they took those immediate casualties we just talked about, their mobility was entirely stripped away. I mean, they couldn't exactly just abandon their wounded. So their vehicles are stuck in situ, they're practically sitting ducks just waiting for support. And the most terrifying part of all this? Intelligence comes over the radio reporting a large infantry force approaching. The sheer, overwhelming nature of this insurgent attack means our patrol is on a ticking clock. If help doesn't arrive right now, they're going to be completely overrun.
Which brings us to Part 2. Calling close air support. Now, what's really interesting here is how the command responds. When a ground unit is pinned down and facing an overwhelming force like that, there's really only one card left to play. We have to shift from the dirt up to the sky. Notice the specific terminology command uses here. Large infantry force approaching, you are weapons free on enemy infantry. Weapons free? That is an absolutely critical command. It basically means the situation is so unbelievably dire and the target is so clearly identified as hostile that the air support doesn't even need to wait for individual target clearance to engage. It highlights the total desperation of those troops on the ground, and it completely unchained the full destructive power of the incoming aircraft to save them.
Walking through this 4-step protocol, it's wild to see the stark contrast between the absolute chaos on the ground and the cold, methodical efficiency of the rescue. Step 1. The patrol broadcasts their desperate request. Instantly, an aircraft designated Springfield 1 responds. They're inbound from the north, just 2 minutes out. Now, 2 minutes might feel like a lifetime when you're in a firefight, but in aviation terms, that's basically instantaneous. Next, we get this chillingly calm report. Direct hits, enemy neutralized. Just like that, the threat is erased. And finally, tasking complete. RTB, return to base. In just 4 simple steps, a meticulous, highly rehearsed protocol saves a trapped patrol from total annihilation.
Moving on to Part 3, the 24-hour response.
You see, the story doesn't just end when the smoke clears. Actually, scratch that. It's really just beginning. We're broadening our scope now, pulling back from that localized, desperate firefight and looking at the macro-level logistical response. Because a military force doesn't just survive an ambush and call it a day. They respond. 24 hours. That is literally all it took. Less than a single day after that initial frantic radio call, massive reinforcements were already on the move. So why so fast? Well, that ambush triggered a huge intelligence review, which revealed that insurgent activity was spread across a way wider area than commanders initially thought. The ambush wasn't just some random strike. It was a symptom of a much larger threat. And the military machine pivoted in less than 24 hours to face it head-on.
To put that into perspective, the scale shift we're looking at is just staggering. On one hand, you have the tactical element, this tiny, battered 2-vehicle patrol fighting just to see tomorrow. And on the other hand, you have this strategic response, the massive, undeniable logistical might of an entire force deploying via an C-130 Hercules aircraft. It's the ultimate escalation. The insurgents basically poked a bear with a stick, and the response was to drop the entire forest on top of them. And that leads us to our final act, Part 4, a new forward base.
And this brilliantly illustrates exactly what the military needed to establish a permanent presence deep within contested territory. Because look, you don't send an entire force in an C-130 just to do a quick patrol. Commanders realized they needed to be closer to the threat. They were moving in to set up shop. Just think about the cargo manifest of that Hercules. It's not just packing fresh combat troops, though many of them were actually on their very first deployment. It's carrying essential life-supporting supplies, and crucially, it's hauling the heavy equipment required to physically build a forward operating base. They aren't just bringing rifles, right? They're bringing the walls, the comms, the infrastructure, the whole shebang. They are bringing a completely new reality to that contested territory. And the transformation? It's incredibly rapid. Picture this. As the Hercules descends through the afternoon haze, it's landing on little more than a rough dirt airstrip surrounded by a handful of temporary structures. But, the military is an absolute machine of rapid adaptation. Within mere weeks of that initial landing, that dusty, vulnerable strip of land is completely transformed. It becomes the main center of operations for British forces in the entire area.
So let's pull all of this together by looking at the escalation arc. At 0 hours, a patrol is ambushed and staring down total destruction. Just minutes later, precision airstrikes from Springfield 1 neutralize that immediate threat. But command sees the bigger picture, and in less than 24 hours, an C-130 is airborne. By day 1, they are touching down on a rough airstrip deep in hostile territory. And within a matter of weeks, a fully functioning center of operations is established. We've literally watched this narrative evolve from frantic, localized survival straight into a massive, long-term strategic buildup.
It leaves us with a truly fascinating realization. A single tactical event, a patrol getting pinned down, didn't just end with a quick rescue. It triggered a massive, permanent strategic buildup that entirely reshaped the region. One patrol survived and an entire force arrived to take the fight forward. When a localized conflict can drastically redraw the map in a matter of weeks, we have to ask, where will the front line move next? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I hope this breakdown gave you a clear, structured look into the incredible speed of military escalation. Keep learning, and I'll see you next time.